Okay, standard 5 again, another review for this. Graph the equation. Okay, I know all these get bold, but then it's a lot less stressful in the final. Okay, so the equation, you don't need to memorize this part. It's a polynomial equation anytime I have an x power higher than 2. And the only way to get this is to graph as many inputs as you maybe can. So the best way I like to do is 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3. Now, I don't want to freak myself out on the arrows, so I'm going to just circle the first term. It's positive, so that means we're going up here. And my highest exponent is a 4, which is even, so they would do the same thing. Okay, so they're both going up. So I know that. Once I get the points down, I'm good to go. Had that been a x to the third, then that one would be going down. They'd be going opposite ways. Remember, this is determined by negative, positive. Okay? This is determined by even or odd, what it does with this one. And behavior. Okay, so I put 3 in for the values, so 3 parentheses 3 to the power of 4 minus 4 parentheses 3 to the second plus 6 parentheses 3 minus 3. Okay, I got 222. Highly unlikely I'm going to end up graphing that, but that's okay. So I go up 2, 2. That's it. So 41, that's more manageable. Up 1, 1, 1. Okay, I got 2. Now if I would put 0 in, it just ends up being -3. Now I clear the calculator and put in the negatives. So 3, -1 to the 4th power minus 4, parentheses -1, second power. It skips over the 3rd power, so make sure you're looking at that on a problem like this. Okay, I got -10. Up, 2, leave the negative. 2, leave the negative. 2. Okay, I got 17. 3, leave the, remember, leave the negative, okay? You don't, because if you clear the negative, you're going to have to reset it, and that's really irritating. 186, okay? I'm probably not going to graph the first or the last, okay? So 241, I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 41. 1, 2, I just go right 1, then up just a little ways to 2. 0, -3. Remember, I'm going by 5s. -1, so I go left 1, then down. Down tier. Sorry, I'm going by 5s. So get that out. Okay, -2, 17. So I go 10, 5, 10, 15, right there. Okay. Now, and you know what's happening. This one's going up. This one's going up. Easy. If you put what your arrows do before you fill out your table, it's going to be easy. Okay, now I put together a little simple, shorter one of these. Okay, simplifying expressions with exponents. Now let's look at the 3 problems. One of them's not like the other 2. Here there's no addition or subtraction operators, so I just make the 3 boxes. 3 boxes of doom. Here I don't have any addition or subtraction operators, so that's going to be the 3 boxes of doom. Here we do have the addition operator. That's a game changer, so that will be the 2 steps where I find the product by multiplying. I'm going to have to get rid of the exponents using a different method rather than just taking them all times 2. Okay? So, bases here, it looks like I've got 5. And by the way, the dividing line's here. 5 multiplied by x multiplied by y. So 5 being to the 1 like it is, 1 times 2 is 2. And then we have 2 x's, so 1 times 2 is 2. The other x is on top, so I'm going to add the -7. And 2 plus -7 gives me -5. So we'll be moving that to the bottom over here. Then the y, 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, so 5 to the second and y to the second remain in the numerator, but the x goes to the denominator, so its negative exponent turns into a positive exponent. And that goes to 25 times y to the second over x to the fifth. And that is simplified. You're not really, again, you're not finding solutions. It says simplify it. Okay, here's your dividing line. Now your bases, the only numerical base you have is 6. And you have x and y on top, and any new variables on bottom, nope, just more x's and more y's. So x is to the 1, and then x, we have a negative 3. None of this is in parentheses, so I don't need to multiply it all yet. And then we're still on top, so I plus 6, and then I go to the bottom, which I have a 2, so I'm going to minus 2. So negative 3 plus 6 takes me to 3, but when I minus 2, that's 1. Okay, x to the first, or x. Okay, y, I've got 4. Then I'm on bottom, so now I have minus and then negative 3. That's just me putting a parentheses. I don't usually do that. And then minus 4. Now when I'm minusing a negative, I would plus, but not on the last one. Okay, what I wrote is 4 minus negative 3 minus 4. Since we're subtracting a negative, I go plus. Okay, 4 plus 3 is 7, minus 4 is going to take me just to 3. Okay, all these powers ended up positive, so I don't need to do any reciprocating. Okay, so 6 to the 1 remains at 6 times x1 times y third. Okay, now remember with the 1-2 process. Number 1, that exponent goes, and I just duplicate the same factor. Okay, use duplicate replication. Then we do the FOIL. 4x to 4x and 4x to 3. Okay, that's done. Now I take 3 to 4x and 3 to 3. So find those products. So it gives me 16x to the second, 12x, 12x, and 9. Okay, so we do like term collection. So x second, we have 16. X, 12 plus 12 is 24, and then 9. Okay, again, so you see how the process is much different. When I have that add or subtract operation in the parentheses, and I want to duplicate the parentheses because I'm going to have to do some FOIL. Okay, now, again, I don't like these problems here. They take a long time, but they are part of the curriculum. Okay, solve the equation. We have 2x to the fifth minus 162x. So x to the fifth, that means 5 solutions. Okay, now we have x to the fifth, 2, and then once that's only 2 terms, so it's GCF. And then I'm going to see if I can do maybe a DOPS. Better be able to. It's a lot of answers we have to find. Okay, now since there's more than 2 answers, we're going to need to look at the possibility of having more DOPS once we get down to the end. More difference of perfect squares. Okay, so you don't have a negative. You have x on both of them. And then 2 and 162 on your GCF calculator is going to be 2. So we factor out 2x. Okay, then the x's go bye-bye here, but not here. That just takes it to an x to the fourth. So it becomes 1x to the fourth minus 81. Now you got to be careful. So this here I circle, and I just put that here for later. Okay, now be careful here. You got minus, you got 9 times 9. That's now x to the fourth would be x to the second times x to the second, and this would be 1 times 1. Okay, so you go fill this out, but you don't go 1x, 1x. It's x to the second. Okay, the plus gets circled. I know those are perfect squares in there, but if it's a plus, it's not a difference. So we get rid of those, and that's 1x to the second plus 9. Okay, here, that's minus, so 3 times 3. X second to be x times x, and then 1 times 1. So you got 1x, 1x, 3, and 3. So I put those alongside, and I have my factors. Okay, now the first one, 2x could equal 0. That's just dividing by 2 and getting 0. 1x to the second power plus 9. This one's kind of a tricky one. You have to subtract 9. Now I know there's a 1 there, but you have a second power, so x to the second's negative 9. Then I find the square root. Well, you can't find the square root of a negative unless you make it positive, so you put I in the two solutions. Okay? So remember, I said you could square it on your calculator. Okay, so 3 and negative 3. And if you use the board, you'll see 9's on the board, and it's equal to 3. So it's really, there's only really one way to write the answers. Okay? You have the i's this time because you end up with a square root and a negative. Okay, 1x plus 3 is 0, just minus 3. Negative 3, you don't have to square root. Then the next one, 1x minus 3, you just add 3. It's a 1 and no power, so that's positive 3. All those are different answers, okay? 0, negative 3, positive 3, and then these are complex solutions, 3i, negative 3i. Okay, next problem, x to the power of 5 minus 4x to the power of 3 minus 60x equals 0. So again, we're looking for 5 solutions to the equation. The solution set's going to contain 5 answers. Okay, this time we have 3 terms. So I look for the greatest common factor. And then I follow it up with my t-chart. Again, since there are more than 2 answers, it makes the solution set higher, more complex. And I have to look for more dots. Okay, GCF. Negative in front, nope. X on everything, yeah, X. 1, 4, and 60 is a GCF of 1, but it's 1x, so we have to actually do it. We can cross those out. Now I parenthesize that. I'm going to need the GCF when I find my solution set, given the fact that it has x. So that now takes it to 1x to the fourth minus 4x to the second minus 60. Okay. ABC. So I take A times C, positive 1 times negative 60. That gives me negative 60. So difference of 4. 1 and 60, no. 2 and 30, no. 3 and 20, nope. If you're thinking give up, no. By the way, the quadratic formula only finds 2 answers, and then I wouldn't be able to find the other 2, so that's not going to work. 4 and 15, nope, that's 11. 5 and 12, that's 7. 60 divided by 6 is 10. Yep, it's got to be 6 and 10. Okay, so 4 is negative, means 10 is negative, and it's a difference, so means they're the opposite. Okay, so A is 1 up here, but it has an x to the fourth connected, so we're going to need 2 parentheses, but don't go x. You got to make it x second with plus 6 and minus 10. Okay, this is a plus, so we can't do anything there. That'll stay x to the second plus 6. This is a minus, but 10's not a perfect square. It's not 5 and 5. That's 25. Okay, then. Okay. So 1x equals 0. That's an easy one. You have 0. Okay, x to the second power plus 6 equals 0. Subtract 6. That takes you to negative 6. Then you're going to have to find the square root of each side. Okay, that just takes you to x on that side. Now you got a negative, so that means I. Now I make it positive. You can either square root 6 on your calculator, 2.45 could be negative 2.45i, or you can leave 6 in its square root because it doesn't divide by any perfect squares. So on this, if you like decimals, do this. If you don't, you put I, and then just square root of 6 with a negative in front. Pick whichever way you like. Okay, and then the other one, x to the second minus 10. I'm going to do it up here because I'm running out of room. Plus 10, x to the second equals 10. Okay, so I don't need the I because it's a 10's positive. Okay, if you're into decimals, it would be 3.16 and 3.16 negative. If you're not into that, 10 is not on the board and it doesn't divide by anything on the board, so I would just write square root of 10 and square root of 10 with a negative in front. Okay, pick either this way or this way, but you do need to show the I's on the negative ones. Okay, next problem. X to the third doesn't have anything in front of it. Plus 5x to the second minus 9x minus 45 is 0. So there are 3 solutions. And we got x third, x second, and x. So all these different powers of x. There's 4 terms, so we set up our grouping. Okay, then more dots. Because anytime you're finding more than 2 solutions, you will need to look for that. Okay, 1x to the third plus 5x to the second, negative 9x minus 45. Okay, we do not factor a negative out here, but we do need to on this one. Okay, as far as x's go, we have x third and x second, so x second would be the one to go with. Not x here, though. 45 is void of x. 1 and 5, the GCF's 1. You can put the 1 if you want. You don't have to. Then 9 and 45, the GCF's 9. Okay, so x squared's out, negative 9's out. And then we cross those x to the same powers off, and that's 1x plus 5 there. And this is going to be the same thing, 1x plus 5. So I have 1x plus 5 inside of each parentheses. And then what do I have left? I have x to the power of 2 minus 9. Okay, that's F1, that's F. No, don't F these. That's circle that because that's a plus. So 1x plus 5 minus 3 times 3, x times x. Sorry, I got off track there. Okay, and these are my factors. X plus 3, x minus 3 equals 0. And those are your factors. 1x plus 5 equals 0. So that takes me to negative 5. I don't really need the 1, and it's not a power. So let's take away 3, get negative 3, add 3, you're at positive 3. Okay, my next one. There's 3 answers, so you're like, oh, okay, so we got this, this. Oh, 4 terms we're going to have to group. No, you're not. I said it's not going to factor, so we need to use our synthetic division. So my dividend inside has 1, negative 12, 35, and negative 24. So to find our divisor, we need to come up with our first solution. The way to do that in my book is through trial and error. So 1 parentheses 1 to the third minus 12 parentheses 1 to the second plus 35 parentheses 1 minus 24. Okay, I got 0, so nice. Positive 1 is one of the values in my 3 solution set. Okay, so 1 multiplied by 1 is 1. Then we add. That takes us to negative 11 times 1's negative 11. Remember, you're always adding. You make one mistake and you're pretty much screwed. You're in trouble. I don't want to say the word on video, but you won't get 0. Okay. Okay, so the 1 goes from an x third to an x second, x plus equals. Okay, trinomial. I'm going to do my GCFT over here when I have room. Even though the GCF can be crossed out because it's just 1. Some of you people who took extended algebra, when I said no GCF, no, everything has a GCF. Sometimes it's just 1 and it's not worth it. Okay, that gives me positive 24, sum of 11. Nope. 2 and 12. Nope. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Yep, 3 plus 8. Okay, 11's negative. That means 8's negative, and it's a sum with a positive, so that means that's negative. Okay, now a here is 1x to the second, so 2 parentheses, and it's just x seconds, so that means it's x minus 3 minus 8. All right, so either x minus 3 could equal 0 or x minus 8 could equal 0. So I add 3, gives me 3. I add 8, that gives me 8. 1, 3, and 8. Okay, and only one story problem here today. This is because this is the most important one that I want you to be able to apply. Okay, a company's profit can be modeled by our equation P equals negative 5x to the third power plus 6x to the second power plus 15x, where x is a number of items produced in thousands. So in thousands means if I see those extra zeros, I do not need to use them. P is the profit in thousands. The profit is $14,000 for producing 2,000 items. What other numbers would produce the same profit? So my equation is P equals negative 5x to the third power plus 6x to the second power plus 15x. Okay, so my variables are P and X. So P's profit, that's money, and X is whatever product. It doesn't say the product, so we're just going to put items. Okay, now do I have a money quantity? I do. I have 14,000, okay? But we're just going to use 14 for P, okay? So P is 14. X is items. Now, while the profit's $14, you have 2,000 as your items quantity, so we're going to put 2 in for X. So all these X's are going to be replaced with 2. So I'll do that real quick. 14 goes in for P, and that's going to stay at 14. Negative 5, 2 to the third, plus 6, 2 to the second, plus 15, 2. Okay, verify that that equation works. Negative 5, parentheses 2 to the third, plus 6, parentheses 2 to the second, plus 15, parentheses 2. Yep, it does. It's 14. Now again, now's where people choke. They can't remember what to do. Keep the 14 the same and switch these 2's back into x's because we're going to find other x values that equal 14. And when I say that to them, they're like, well, how do I do that? Well, you know x has 3 solutions, and you know one of them's 2 because you just had that in and it equaled 14. So we're going to use our synthetic division by 2. Now, you need to subtract the 14 from the other side. You need 0 before you synthetically divide. So I have negative 5, positive 6, positive 15, negative 14. So now we execute this. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Then add. It's negative 4. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. 15, add negative 8 is 7. And 7 times negative 2 is 14. Okay, so that's 0. Now, no longer is it x third, it's x second, x, and nothing. Okay, 3 terms. So I get from 3 terms with x squared, x, and a constant. We do the GCF and my t table. Okay, GCF, negative in front. Yeah, there is. X on everything. Nope. 5, 4, and 7 would just be 1, but it's a negative 1, so it's worth actually doing. So we know what happens there. We have 5x squared plus 4x minus 7. The signs just change. Okay, and this is my new trinomial. So a times c. 5 times negative 7. That's 35 negative, so I'd be looking for a difference of 4. 1 and 35 is not a difference of 4. And the only other two factors you have for 35 are 5 times 7, but that's not 4. So we have to use our quadratic formula. So the opposite of b is negative 4. The square root, parentheses to the second, minus 3 parentheses in a row. Okay, so b is 4, and then 4. Now a is 5, and c is negative 7. Now in the denominator, you're going to have 2 and 5, which is 10. Okay, now find that square root. Second, should not be a domain error. How are you going to solve a story problem if it's a domain error? Okay? Because you can't do the rest of the calculation. Okay, 12.49, or 12, I'm going to go 12.5. I know I'm not real consistent on my rounding. That's fine. Negative 4 plus 12.5, divide that by 10, and we get 0.85. Remember, these answers are in thousands, so I'm putting K's. Negative 4 minus 12.5 divided by 10 gives me negative 1.65. Now, the negative is not a legit answer, okay? So it's just these two, the one they gave me and the one I found on my own, okay? So 2,850.